Where do we start today, Hammer? We're talking Dyson Daniels, Fearne, and it's the final round of the regular season.
And we got John Casey. We're talking about all the NBL award winners, who we think will win, and he gives us an update on Goorj.
Don't forget All-Star Weekend as well. Cannot wait. Let's get to it.
This is the Basketball Show with Shane the Hammer Heel. What they gonna say next?
Hello, everyone. It's the final show before the end of the regular season. So much to get through, and it's all thanks to Code Sports, Boost Mobile, and the Throwback store. Hammer, big week ahead, but plenty that we have just seen as well. What have you loved this week?
Just so much going on, Jojo, and the NBL. What a season it's been. New Zealand and the Hawks and Brisbane keeping their finals race alive. So that was exciting. But college basketball, the Opals, it's all happening.
Plenty to get through. Let's go. This is our starting five. All right, Hammer, the Opals secured their ticket to the Olympics. An amazing achievement, of course. Now the focus is Paris. What did you make of their performance? And I guess, do you think that they are strong enough that they can have a deep run come to Paris?
Well, I think the Opals always have a deep run. I think they've been getting medals for as long as I can remember. And, this was a tournament we expected them to be able to breeze through. But I was most impressed with Ezi Magmagor. She's had an unbelievable season in Europe. She's won the MVP title. She won MVP in this tournament. And the other one that I was really excited for was young Izzy Borlase. Like, only a young player. You'll love her because she's South Australian, but she's got a huge international future. I think she'll make it. She'll be a draft pick, first-round draft pick in the WNBA. She was sensational.
No, so pleased for her as well. We obviously have had her on the basketball show. She's a great young talent. Really looking forward to, the Opals campaign and how they go. Obviously no LJ though. What did you make of that announcement?
Well, she played in the tournament, played limited minutes, and, I guess in your early 40s, then you could expect that, time's going to run out at some stage. So well done to her.
Yeah, well, we will speak more about that a little later on, but we'll keep things moving on to the NBL. This is the second season that we've had the play-in format sort of introduced into the league. I love it. It's kept things amazingly interesting, especially for the neutrals come the end of the season. Are you on the same page? Do you like the way that they've introduced it, and would you like to see it continuing?
Well, Jojo, we were all over it when they brought it out. There was a lot of people that were huffing and puffing and saying it's no good. Well, I was all over it. I think it's fantastic. And for this exact reason, the NBL couldn't be happier with being able to use it, where so many teams are still interested at this stage of the season. Normally, there's 3 or 4 teams that their fans have given up, a month ago because they couldn't make it. It's a great format. It's going to go right down to the wire. And I think another great decision from the NBL to be able to expand something that makes it more interesting.
Went down to the final game of the season last season. I imagine the same thing is going to happen this Sunday, so can't wait for that. Fearne has been appointed the first Australian D1 college coach with the Charlotte 49ers. So since he took over as the interim coach last year, they've gone 15-8 overall and 9-2 in their first season in the AAC. I just want to read to you what the director of athletics said, because it just speaks volumes to Aaron's character. It says, in our first year in the AAC, he has our team competing for a league championship and has completely re-energized our fan base. They had a sold-out game not long ago for the first time in 11 years. Like I said, it just speaks to his character, and it's amazing to see another Australian doing really well over in the States.
Yeah, I mean, there's no surprises. Fearne has been an amazing coach for a long, long time. We saw him overachieve with small budget teams in Cairns and for a long time. Just a very, very good coach, great relationships with his players as well. And this is very well deserved. And maybe the start for other Australians to get to college as well, because we just haven't seen it in Div 1 before in the history of the game.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So really looking forward to following his progress. NBA now, Dyson Daniels out with a torn meniscus in his left knee. It's obviously a setback, not only for himself, the Pels. He's been playing some valuable minutes for them, and then of course the Boomers. It's a meniscus tear. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a super long-term injury, but when the organization releases a word like indefinitely, I think that's concerning.
Yeah, I mean, yes, because we know how conservative NBA teams can be, but a meniscus tear is not a very big injury, but they will be conservative with him because he's a valuable young player. So they won't want to take any risks with him. They'll want him on the sideline as long as possible. Potentially they could interfere and try and encourage him not to play at the Olympics, but I think he'll be there. I don't think it'll be a worry. Brian Goorjian will have his depth charts out that if he isn't available, but I'm pretty confident he'll be there.
The NBA trade deadline has come and gone. There weren't obviously any major sort of superstar trades, but there was plenty that got done on deadline day. Who won and who lost, in your opinion?
Yeah, there wasn't any of the big blockbusters, was there, that we're all excited about seeing happen. And but I guess Dinwiddie to the Lakers, I think they're the ninth seed at the moment. You know, he's going to certainly help them. They've got depth, but can they make a play to really compete in the Western Conference? I'm not so sure. But I thought it was a bit of a non-event, Joe, the whole NBA trade. What do you like?
I agree with you there. I think Royce O'Neal to the Suns was a fun one too. A lot of people talking about the Knicks though, and I have a feeling why this subject has been thrown in because we know director Dave loves his Knicks. But they are stacked. All the analysis at the moment are sort of saying that they're loading up for a playoff run. They're smart and well run. All of a sudden, the Knicks are operating like the single smartest franchise in the entire NBA. They haven't won a game since, but Bogdanovic and Burks have both had decent outings, and obviously it takes time for the team to gel and that kind of thing. But the Knicks could be the sort of what do you call them? The roughie at the moment.
Well, there's no doubt they're building, and I think they've been building for a while. And I think with Brunson there playing sort of basketball he is, they always have a chance. But I'm not sure it's their time yet. I'm still on Boston. No doubt that Milwaukee's going to be tough as well, but Boston's a team for me in the East.
All right, we'll see what happens there. Very quickly, before we move on as well, All-Star Weekend is coming up. I know it's not exactly your favourite topic, is it? But I think, I get that it's novel, yes, but it feels like this year there are more of the superstars that are committing to it. I love the fact that Steph is going to come up against Sabrina in the three-point competition. Wemby is in the skills comp. I think it is Jaylen Brown in the three-point competition. No, sorry, the dunk competition. The three-point competition, Brunson, Halliburton, Lillard, Markkanen, Mitchell. I mean, you want to watch that, don't you, as an NBA fan?
There's not a chance in hell I'll be watching that. Are you kidding? I'll check it out on Twitter. I'll get the results of Steph and Sabrina. Apart from that, I really don't have any interest in any of what you just mentioned.
Yeah, all right.
Am I just being the Grinch? Are you going to watch it?
Absolutely, you're the Grinch, and absolutely, I'm going to watch it. Yes, and I'm going to have highlights for you. I'm going to have highlights for you on next week's show as well. Derek's back in, so we can chat about it, and you can sit there and listen.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
5.
Time for your Boost Mobile Hoops highlights, and kicking it off this week, it's Jalen Adams.
Adams draws contact. A party trick from Jalen Adams.
Trying to keep him off his right hand to start off with. Gets rolling to make some contact.
4.
Next up, Tyrese Halliburton lights up the Garden.
Look at that, Halliburton, creative.
3.
Leva who gets another block. Back and forth we go. Green going up top. Oh, okay. Wow, Josh Green flying high.
Here he is. Kyrie Irving gives him the ball. He had no doubt on this one.
2.
By Munchen down by 2, 5 defenders and the whole arena against it. Silva and Francisco ready to disco with the defense. Hard step, the Lord wept. Silva and Francisco said zum Schweigen bringen. I can't hear the crowd no more. Where did they go? It's time to go home, fellas. Somebody start the bus.
1.
Curry comes free. Gets the ball. Puts up a three-pointer. Bang! Steph Curry nails the three-pointer with 7/10 of a second remaining.
Enjoy the brilliance while you can. Those are your Hoops highlights thanks to Boost Mobile. Time now for Points Made with John Casey. Guys, the all NBL teams and the award winners will be announced on Monday night. Want to have a little bit of fun with this and get your predictions. Beginning with the all NBL first team. Case, who have you got in yours?
Yeah, well, look, there's a lot of candidates, Joe, isn't there? Great to be with you and Hammer again to talk this through. You can't go past Bryce Cotton. I think he's easily the MVP. Chris Golding was the best player in the competition through the first half of the year when Bryce was struggling a little. I've got Anthony Lamb in there as well. I think he's been fantastic for New Zealand. Mitch Creek numbers, even though his team is on the bottom of the ladder, his numbers are hard to ignore. Top 3 in scoring and rebounding. Had an absolutely great season once more and shot the ball above 40% from three-point territory. So he's added that to his kit bag this season. And the fifth one, I've actually gone for Parker Jackson Cartwright. Leads the league in steals, second in assists. He's the fastest man in the competition maybe that we've ever seen. He's also got the longest name in the history of the NBL. Ticks a lot of boxes in my categories.
Well, Case, I've agreed with 4 out of your 5. The only thing that I've gone with is I think Gary Clark has been incredible, and I think he's been a major part of the success of the Illawarra Hawks. So I've got him in there over Mitch Creek, who's had a good season, but his team's last. So I haven't found a spot for him in the in that 5. So, but so many great players to be able to pick from, and it'll be interesting to see what happens on Monday night.
Can't wait for that. I think the general consensus, though, is that the MVP is going to one man only. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, look, Bryce Cotton will win his 4th MVP, and congratulations to him because he had to make some adjustments this year and he's found a way to do it. So credit to Bryce Cotton. He is a worthy MVP. And just quickly on that, he's going to win his 4th. Andrew Gay's won 7. So I think if you consider how good Bryce Cotton has been, and he's been outstanding, let's not forget, bear that into comparison then with what Andrew Gaze did. So he's halfway to what Andrew Gaze achieved. It just puts, I think, into context how good Andrew Gaze was as well. But Bryce Cotton, worthy MVP.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And how many times did Drewy average more than 40 points a game for a whole season? Puts it in to context as well. But Bryce Cotton, I think at the start of the season, he struggled more because of the system and the mentality of some of his teammates and what was happening than anything else. But geez, when he got back in form, he reminded everybody very quickly that he's by far and away the best player in the league right now.
One of the really interesting categories this year is the Coach of the Year, because there have been different stages of the season, obviously, where teams have done really well and others where they haven't. Case, who are you giving this one to?
Well, just picking up on what Hammer said there about Bryce Cotton's MVP candidacy, might have been hamstrung by what the system that was there put in place by the coach, John Rillie, earlier in the season. And I tend to agree with that a little bit. So a lot of people are saying John Rillie should be the coach of the year for resurrecting the Wildcats from a 2-5 start to second on the ladder. Well, do we credit him with resurrecting the team, or do we blame him for those earlier mistakes and he's just cleaned up his own mess? It's an interesting conversation. All year I've had Dean Vickerman on top because they have been the standout team. They've found ways to win when they were without Luala Chul, when they had Delhi out injured, when they've had other players out injured as well. So it hasn't been smooth sailing. And people say, oh, he's got all the talent. No wonder they're on top. Yes, they have all the talent, but Adelaide had all the talent 2 years ago and didn't even make the finals. So you still have to get all that talent to gel together. So I've had Dean Vickerman on top all year, but I'm slowly leaning toward Justin Tatum because he took a team from the bottom of the ladder and now he's been able to transform them into a top 4 team. If they finish top 4 from the bottom of the ladder with the same personnel, well, to me, that's almost a Coach of the Year effort, isn't it? And what he's done with the likes of Dave O'Hickey, who was little used on the end of the bench in Illawarra, now where he's playing substantial minutes in the 4th quarter of a must-win game, well, to me, that says he's a great coach. So I think either Dean Vickerman or Justin Tatum could win it, and I won't be disappointed whoever it is because they both deserve it.
Yeah, well, I agree with your points. I'm going with Tatum for all the reasons that you said. I think, he didn't have a preseason with his team. He didn't have any input into who he wanted to be able to play. He got left with this team that was down on morale, and he found a way to be able to rejuvenate the whole team, make some adjustments, get them playing for him. They've played hard. and they've been able to go to a whole nother level. I think they're 11-6 or 11-7 since he took over. That's probably a top 3 team if you extrapolate that over a season. So he's done an incredible job. They need to get him signed very quickly. I agree with what you said with Dean Vickerman. I don't think that they're the most talented team in the league, Melbourne United, but he's done a great job of fitting everybody into his system. But he's had a system for a period of time that he's just been able to plug people into. So for me, it's Tatum.
All right, guys, next one on the list. Who's the most improved?
Well, the most improved player, I think, you've got to look at someone like Isaac Humphries and what he's done this year, become the focal point in Adelaide. Numbers are up substantial. I really like what he's brought to the table. But I think, in my personal opinion, I'm going to go with Geordie Hunter from the Sydney Kings. He was a guy who didn't start a game last year, thrust into a starting centre's position, starts almost every game, doubled his points, doubled his rebounds, and matured as a player to the extent now where he was a trusted member and one of the more reliable players on a star-studded team. So I've got him just slightly ahead in terms of the most improved player this season, with a shout out to a couple of other players as well, because, Galloway's been great in Sydney, and I think Sean McDonald, Ben Eyre and Tyrell Harrison in Brisbane as well have also had great seasons where they've improved dramatically.
Yeah, well, I can't argue with any of that. I've got Sean McDonald down as one of the candidates. I think Joe pointed out to me before the show, DJ Vasiljevic, as far as statistically, has been able to take his game to a whole nother level. But I'm going to go someone who won't win the award, but I think his impact on the team has been incredible, and that's Hiram Harris. I think what he's been able to do for the team that won't sort of be looked at from a statistical point of view, but his energy and the toughness that he plays with, the way he sacrifices himself, the defense, the way he's made Bryce Cotton better since his injection into the starting 5, has also elevated them to be a top 2 team in the league. And I love what he's done. And I love the fact that somebody like this has been appreciated. This is like a Warwick Giddy or a Robert Sibley back in the day, because he does those little things that makes his team better. And if you're a scorer, that's what you appreciate playing with.
All right, next one up, guys. The Defensive Player of the Year. Who have you got for this case?
Defensive Player of the Year, and there's been some really good candidates this season, but I've gone with Shea Illy finally, because he does such a good defensive job for the Melbourne United team. He sets the tone early. It takes on their most important opponent's player. And, he's able to get it done at the offensive end as well as bringing that defense to the table. So I think he's been fantastic. I really love what Christian Doolittle's done for the Perth Wildcats as well. I think he's another one in the mix. And, of course, Sam McDaniel and Will Magnay. Look, I think Will Magnay's arguably the best defender in the competition, but he's only played half the season. And I think that's sort of, you have to take that into consideration as well when you're looking at season-long awards. But hasn't there been some great defenders in the competition this season?
Well, there has. And I think the standout for me is Sam McDaniel. What he's been able to do in Brisbane, he can defend 1 through 4. He's got that body type that he's got that toughness and that size to be able to defend the best point guards, but he can also switch and defend guys in the post as well. He's been incredible this year. I think he's found a right place where he's really embraced in Brisbane as well, and he's going to have a great couple of years ahead of him as well.
2 more categories to get through. Sixth Man and Rookie of the Year. Give me both of them, Case.
Ian Clark's my sixth man, just ahead of Will Magnay, because I think sixth man, I haven't taken those games into consideration because what he's done off the bench I think is a little different to an award that is for season-long type scenario. And next generation player, Sam Frolling again. I think he wins it back-to-back. His numbers are too hard to ignore. So many young stars there. Travers has been outstanding for Melbourne, elevating his game a little bit further. And the next stars that we talk about, Alex Sarr, Hook Porty as well. And Rubs Davicius from New Zealand, he's shown glimpses of why he's going to be a very good NBA player in the near future.
Well, I've gone out west again. I've gone with Usher. I think, the fact that he's been able to eat a little bit of humble pie, came here, had some big games in the preseason, got relegated to the bench, but I think his attitude and his mindset's been great. He's really added something and a real pop coming off that bench to really invest in the Wildcats. And then I've gone for Alex Sarr. Geez, haven't I fallen in love with the Red Army in Perth today? Because it's all out west. But Sarr's been incredible for a kid of his age to be able to come in and have the impact. If he had been playing for a lesser team and been given a whole lot more minutes, I think we would have seen him gone to another level as well. John Riley's done a good job of managing, but he's got a star-studded team and some good players in front of him with Keanu Pinder as well. So he's been incredible. We know he's going to be high in the draft, and he's going to have just an amazing career. And he's laid the foundations here in Australia, which is fantastic.
Yeah, no doubt. Looking forward to the NBL Awards night on Monday night. We'll find out who are the winners of all of those categories. We've been discussing the 36ers coaching role quite a lot recently. What's the latest? It seems like there's been a little bit of movement. Case, give us the Adelaide take on it.
Well, the Adelaide take on it is win, 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 because right now they've got Scotty Ninnis at the interim role, has done an outstanding job, and a lot of people, including me, would like to see him get the job next season. Brian Goorjian has opened discussion with the 36ers and has said he's very keen to come here. And with his credentials, well, Adelaide should be very keen to get him here. And Trevor Gleeson, who was close to signing with Adelaide before he went to the NBA, will know in the next 2 weeks if that NBA gig is ongoing, and if it's not, well, he comes back into the picture. So they've got three great candidates there. It's interesting here, discussion on Talkback Radio in Adelaide. There's not a lot of love for Brian Goorjian. He was always seen as the man in black with Victoria or the Southeast Melbourne teams when they came here. He had that altercation with Paul Reeves where he stumbled on the court, and he was very much the man in black for Adelaide fans, and some of them just can't warm to Brian Goorjian, but his credentials say he could turn this whole thing around and get them back to the playoffs. So I think Scott Ninnis is going to be involved next year in one way or another, whether it's head coach, assistant coach, or the basketball manager's role they're looking to fill, and either Brian Goorjian or Trevor Gleeson I think you'd take in a heartbeat. So they're going to get a great coach, and I think it's upward from here for the Adelaide 36ers.
Well, I mean, Gorge has earned the right to be able to pick and choose which clubs he wants to be able to go to. And another team that is going to be desperate for a head coach next year is the Sydney Kings. And at this time of the year is when Gorge comes to the front, because he's the guru, God love him, of being able to put them all against each other, up that price, to see what he's been able to get. But he's done it time and time again where he can come into programs that have been failing. He puts high demands on what the team's going to spend, and his ability to be able to recruit and goes after those players that can play a role and get success. So I've got no doubt wherever Gorge goes, he'll be successful. But I think the Adelaide 36ers, as you say, have got three pretty good candidates, and they're in a good position compared to what we've seen probably over the last 5 or 10 years. Well, since Joey Wright, really.
All right, Hammer, we are coming up to the final round of the regular season. We're going to go through all of the games, but really the focus is on the Hawks, the Bullets, the Breakers, and the Kings. 4 teams vying for 3 positions. It begins Thursday. Illawarra hosting Perth. Who wins it?
Well, I'm going to go for the Hawks, and I'm going to go for them just because of the importance of it. They're playing great basketball at the moment. They're going to take that momentum from a huge win against the Kings, and the fact that they've played well against Bryce Cotton. They've been able to find ways to be able to restrict him. So if they continue on that way, they're going to get another W.
I agree with you there. They've beaten Perth the last 2 times they've played them, and they are going to be desperate for it. New Zealand hosting Brisbane. This is potentially Tom Abercrombie's final game of his career.
This is a tough game. My head says New Zealand, but there's something in my gut that just says that Brisbane are so good at being able to restrict other teams. They have this toughness about them defensively. Nathan Sobey's in some form as well. So really, I've just sat on the fence. Head, gut.
Come on, give me something.
All right, I'll go New Zealand because they're at home.
Yeah, okay. I've done the same thing. 6 men coming to play there. The next game, Cairns hosting Melbourne United. Now, on a technicality, Cairns can still make it through to the play-in. They need pretty much everyone else to lose, but they've had Melbourne United's number this season.
Yeah, one, I don't think they're going to win. And the way they played last week, and there's obviously some sort of issues with Taj McCall. It's like, what's going on there, Joe? What's happening?
I have no idea. You know more than I do.
But no, well, they're done. They're done. Just put a line through them. Let's move on.
Okay. Most people have put a line through Southeast Melbourne as well. They've got Sydney, though, and they could cause some issues for the Kings.
They will lose by 30, Joe. They will. I don't know who's coming back, whether Creek's playing, who's not, but the Kings are going to absolutely smash them in this game, I would think. And they need to, because their game the other day was embarrassing.
Yeah, no, fair enough. The next game, Tasmania hosting Perth. Obviously not too much to play for in terms of finals positions, but a bit of momentum heading into the playoffs.
I'm actually going to pick Perth. Tassie haven't been great at home this year, and I just think that if Perth lose that first one to Illawarra, John really won't want to be having any sort of break after losing 2 games in a row. So they'll need to win that game, and not so much for the ladder, but just for taking momentum into the playoffs. Perth.
The second game on Saturday is United hosting the Hawks.
Well, the big question mark will be who are United going to play? I'm not sure that with a double header, there's going to have niggling injuries. It would be smart for Dean Vickerman and United to be able to make sure that they rested players to make sure that they're right if they need that, or played them on limited minutes. There's no need for them to take any risks. So I'm going to go for the Hawks just on that basis alone.
Okay, so for you, the Hawks are one of those 4 teams making it through. And the final game of the regular season on Sunday, Adelaide taking on the Breakers.
Well, I mean, this is a hard one as well, because there's no doubt that Scott Ninnis and Adelaide, they'll be excited to be playing at home again. They'll want to finish on a great note. There's no pressure on, so they can go and roll it out. For the Breakers, on the other hand, all the pressure is going to be on. They're going to have to be able to get it done. I think that they will, but I really like Adelaide and what Scott Ninnis has done and the way they've played. So, real danger game, but I'll go New Zealand.
I have Adelaide at home. My prediction is, though, the Kings are going to be sat there biting their fingernails watching this one, because New Zealand will be knocking them out if they win it.
Wow. So that would mean that you've got... so have you got the Kings finishing in the play-in? Or the top four?
I think it comes down to that game. I reckon New Zealand could knock them out and get through. Their 2 games this week is crucial for them.
Yeah, no doubt. It's and they're all flip of the game. Flip of the coin games. They're so close that could go either way. And that's what's made this season so intriguing. And the NBL would be licking their lips that the whole play-ins come to fruition. Everyone's riding it to that very last game to see where everyone finishes. And, the whole play-in thing, if you finish 5th or 6th, you've got to win 2 games to make the playoffs. If you do that, you deserve it. If you're in the top 4 and you can't win 2 games or 1 game, then you probably don't deserve to be in the top 4. That's why the format's great.
No, can't wait for it. Get out the popcorn. It's going to be awesome.
Let's go.
Time to talk SuperCoach NBL with Nathan Strumpel.
We have 4 teams playing doubles this round, so New Zealand and Illawarra continue, and they've got something to play for, but the temptation is Perth and Melbourne both playing 2 games this round. So usually you'd be sitting there going Bryce Cotton, Keanu Pinder, JLA, Luke Travers, great options, but how many minutes are they're going to play? What are your thoughts on it, folks? With those top 2 spots locked in for Perth and Melbourne, how much will they play those studs?
Well, yeah, Hammer alluded to that before. I think you've got to go with the Breakers and the Hawks. But, I mean, you're the SuperCoach expert. Can you give us any idea on what you're going to do?
Well, I'm actually in a position where I've got a fair few Breakers and Hawks now. And that's the juggle, right? I'm sitting there with a bunch of the studs in my team. I think PJC's a lock. You have to have him this week. Will McDowell-White's starting to play really well. Zylan Chieftain showing some form with Anthony Lamb out. And then with the Hawks, Gary Clark's been exceptional for them. So Sam Froling, Tyler Harvey really finding some form as well. I've got those 6 already though. So now my choice is, do I go further down the lineup? Do I try and get a Mango Mathiang, or do I try and look at the Hawks and I get Justin Robinson? He's been, on his best days, he's great. Other days, maybe not so much. So is it those that I'm going to, or do I just roll the dice on a Bryce Cotton or Keanu Pinder, or do I just take a punt that they're going to play more of their bench and go with a Doolittle or an Alexander Sarr? There, the things I'm weighing up. I think with your captain, you probably need to look at someone from Illawarra or New Zealand where they've both got something to play for. So you're probably looking at Parker, Jackson Cartwright, Zylan Chieftain, or maybe from the Hawks, Gary Clark or Sam Froling. That's my thoughts this week. Well, good luck, mate. We'll be interested. Oh, one last thing. What happens with the public
one. How long does that go for? When's that whole thing wrap up?
So in terms of SuperCoach, everything wraps up this week. So everyone watching out there, well done this season. It's been awesome coming under the SuperCoach branding. Huge numbers, so 25,000 plus involved. I found it pretty, I think I was sort of top 10, top 20 last season, and now I'm battling into getting the top few hundred. So it's great to have so many more people playing, but everything wraps up this week. Leagues have their grand final, the public, whoever's going to drive away in that brand new Mitsubishi, they are going to be the leader at the end of this round. And then for finals, we just enjoy what's going to be an incredible NBL final series.
Love it. Well, well done, Nathan, Tom, for making it through to the basketball show final. We can't wait to hear who wins it next week. Thanks so much for everything this season and helping Hammer and I along the way. But yeah, good luck for the week, and we'll chat to you again.
No worries at all. Thanks, guys.
Well, that brings us to a close. But before we go, I want to give a shout out to Tom Abercrombie and Brad Newley, who both announced their retirement from the NBL. Hammer, it feels like the end of an era.
Two absolute legends, Joe. Both have represented their country, won championships. Brad Newley, had a great career in Europe as well. So not just the NBL, and both have been outstanding people as well. So congrats to the both, and enjoy that next phase of your life, fellas. Good on you.
This is a co-production by News Corp Australia and Closer Sports.